Ostman is not a mystical guy. He's lived a pretty normal life for someone like him. His dad was a businessman, so when he went to college, he didn't know what else to do, and his dad said, well, if you don't know what to do, you should go into business. So that's what he did. Got himself a business degree, looked around the world for things that would pay him well, and ended up in the industry that he's currently in. His life has been average, in his mind. It's good. He's got good money, he drives a nice car, he's got a big house. He had a wife, but she left, she wasn't happy with him. They met in college, and she was one of those woo-woo types that believed in the tarot and crystals and things like that. And as they got older, they kind of split apart. The differences in their world were just too great, and she didn't like his job. Nobody likes his job. John Ostman works for the fracking industry, and he hears a lot of complaints about it, but it doesn't hit him, you know? It doesn't do anything to him. His life isn't impacted by the things he does, outside of, he tells people what to do, they go drill some holes, and he collects a big paycheck. Now, he's heard about climate change, he's heard about these environmental things, and they feel like, in his mind, he could just categorize them as things his ex-wife is concerned about. The only time the natural world and him have ever interacted outside of his wandering around on sites is he's actually a little bit mad at it, because the day his dad died, everybody, the only thing people could talk about was that fucking one time when two tourists at Lake Mead Trail you remember that big rock they pushed that was like on a little tiny pebble, and it had been there for thousands of years, and these two assholes decided to roll it down the hill? Yeah, whatever. He didn't care because his dad died that day. And in his mind, that was just a distraction. So that's what makes today so weird. John is in Oklahoma, and he's out in a part of Oklahoma that literally no one would ever go to. There's nothing exciting about it. There's no hills, there's no pretty trees. It's Oklahoma, there's not a whole lot of trees to begin with. But even so, this is just a place of nowhere and nothing. It is dry, there's scrub grass, there's scrub trees. And the second he comes here in the pickup truck from the company, he feels different. His skin seems to vibrate. The hairs on the back of his hands stand up. His eyes seem clear, and his breathing, he can smell everything. He can smell the sage, he can hear the rustling of the birds, he can hear the insects, and he's never cared before, so this kind of weirds him out. John stands there, just for the first time in his entire life, somehow awed by the world around him. And he thinks of his ex-wife, because again, this is her bullshit, not his. And as he stands there, just wondering if maybe this is a little glimpse into what all of those other people are talking about all the time. That's when the first work truck pulls up. And he shakes his head to get rid of the woo-woo stuff. And he talks to the crew and he goes home. Another job, another site approved, another $100,000 in a bank account. Will be there in a few weeks. And he'll go someplace nice. He'll do something nice. But that dream haunts him. That thought, that experience haunts him. That night when he goes to sleep, he has a dream. In this dream, he's in a house, and there are thousands of dolls, hundreds of thousands, millions of dolls, somehow in this small little hut. It's in the way that dreams are, where things can be both and not at the same time. He looks at the dolls in the corner, and he knows they are millions, they are billions, but for him right now, the only thing he has eyes for is a lady who's sitting in a chair opposite him. She's sewing little dolls. And this doll looks a lot like him. And she gives him a sad smile when he comes in. And it's not friendly, and it's not mean. It is simply what happens. And she pauses and looks at him and goes, "Do you believe in voodoo dolls?" And he goes, "No, of course not." And she goes, "No, of course not." And her face changes and becomes his ex-wife. And she says, "No, of course not." And then it's that lady again. And she's finished with the doll, and she shows it to him. And it looks dry like Oklahoma, and it smells like the desert, and it sounds like the little crickets and the little bugs in the grasses. It feels like where he was today. And she goes, what if I told you that every soul on this planet is tied to some part of this world? And anytime you heard it, it's just like a voodoo doll. You've never cared before, John Osterman, but I want to tell you, I didn't plan this. I hold you no malice. I'm not doing this in revenge. This was made long ago when your soul was first cast into this world. But this is what you get. And he wakes up, and he's not in a cold sweat, and he's not screaming. He just thinks that was weird. But a week and a half later, when the exploration drill goes into the ground, he's rushed to the hospital, clutching his stomach, and he's not sure what's wrong, but he's vomiting all day long, all night long, and they put him on an IV. And he sits there in the hospital, and he thinks about it, and he thinks about it. And he remembers the day that his dad died, and how he went from healthy to dead like that, just as those two guys rolled the rock down the hill. And he starts to wonder, as they continue to pull up the exploration drill, he leaves the hospital. He goes out to visit the site, but by then they have it chained and fenced off. There's workmen in there laying concrete, and 3 weeks later, when they put the actual drill down and start retrieving the oil, John doesn't get better. He goes back to the hospital, and he withers away slowly over the course of the next few weeks. She smiles at him from a dream, or maybe it's the nurse. He can't tell because he's in that space between life and death. But this lady who sewed his doll smiles and says, this is what happens. It's not that I hate you. It's not that this is revenge. This is just what happens when you fuck with the world.